Howdy folks, I'm Clever Common Knapweed, cantankerously cleaving clean cardboard.
I'm Amber.
And here's more clean cardboard for us to cleave. So let's get started on that. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Announcing My 6-Month Pregnancy a week after my brother and sister-in-law announced their 3-month pregnancy? Ages, me, a 26-year-old female, and my husband, a 28-year-old male. My brother, a 35-year-old, and my sister-in-law, a 36-year-old, and my mother is a 60-year-old. I found out that I was pregnant at 7 weeks gestation. My husband and I wanted to wait a couple of months before announcing it just to make sure everything was okay. I'm 8 months pregnant now, and everything is okay. Me and the baby are healthy. Well, after 4 months, we were ready to announce our pregnancy to my family. His already knew. But there was always a reason why we felt we shouldn't. A family member got married, so we wanted to wait until after that. Another was sentenced to prison, so nobody wanted to celebrate. People kept getting sick and staying home. We wanted to do it in person when all of the family was together, so our options were already limited, but things just kept popping up that made us think that we should wait a little longer. Well, at 6 months, we were going to tell everyone at my mother's birthday party, but evidently my brother had the same idea because he and his wife announced that they were 3 months pregnant. We were happy for them. It was cute how they announced it. They wrapped up a framed sonogram and gave it to Mom, and she was so happy she was crying. And obviously, I didn't want to steal that thunder, so I told my husband that we couldn't announce ours that day and had to wait again. Well, in the days afterwards, my mom went crazy making grandchild posts on Facebook, talking about how it was her first grandbaby and she was finally a grandmother, etc., etc. Everyone was so excited, and my husband was like, this is so ridiculous. You're 6 months pregnant. You're really starting to show. Up until then, I've been carrying small, but I've gained a bunch of weight, practically overnight. We have a nursery. We need to tell people before they walk into our house and notice the baby things. And I agreed. And maybe I was also being selfish because I wanted in on the baby excitement as well. Well, we waited a week after my mom's birthday and then told everyone in a group text. I wanted to tell in person as a family, but that obviously wasn't going to pan out. We got some congratulations, but 3 people, one of which was my mom, answered saying things like, "Don't you mean 6 weeks? Are you sure it's 6 months?" with no congratulations. My brother and sister-in-law didn't respond to the text. I called my mom because I wanted to celebrate and talk about the baby, but she just told me that I shouldn't have announced my pregnancy after my sister-in-law announced hers. We had an argument. I asked how long I should have waited because I was getting bigger by the day, and someone would be able to just look at me and tell I was pregnant, and she wouldn't give me an answer. She just told me that what I did was hurtful and that I needed to apologize to my brother and sister-in-law. I sent my brother and sister-in-law a voice message. They didn't answer when I called, and told them that I was sorry if I hurt anyone's feelings. It wasn't my intention. I just really wanted to be as open about my baby as they were with theirs. And I was hoping that me and sister-in-law could bond over shared pregnancy experiences. I explained that I had gained weight and the weather was getting too hot to keep wearing a hoodie to cover up my bump, so it needed to be soon. And that I was actually going to announce it at Mom's birthday, but decided to wait after they had announced theirs. My brother answered back saying, "It's okay, how are you feeling?" and hasn't texted me since. My sister-in-law hasn't texted at all. I've texted her asking how they are doing and trying to talk about the baby names so we don't choose the same name, but all I get is radio silence. My mom's a little better. She asked me how I'm feeling and things like that, but she hasn't geeked out over my baby like she was doing with my brother's. Doesn't seem excited about mine at all and hasn't even asked for the gender. My sister-in-law posted about how she and my mom went on a shopping spree buying baby things, and my mom hasn't bought anything for my baby. Not that I expect people to buy a bunch of things. Me and my husband can cover everything the baby needs, but it sings a little bit that she hasn't even bought the baby a single onesie. Actually, nobody has bought us anything for the baby, but it's most surprising for my mom because she's always buying gifts for the kids and family. I found out from the other relatives that Mom is doing this thing where she's having family members pick out stuffed animals for my brother's baby and give it to her because she's going to get it embroidered with her name. and I haven't been asked to buy a stuffed animal, and she's not doing anything like that for us. Obviously, I'm getting a cold shoulder because of how close we announced our pregnancies, but my husband still thinks that we're in the right because of how far along I was, and we were on a deadline. Is it so bad that I wanted to celebrate with everyone else? I didn't want to steal the celebration, I just wanted to join in on the celebration. Wow, there's a lot of comments. To clarify, my family doesn't know my husband's family knew first. The reason my in-laws knew first is because there's only 3 of them. My husband's sister guessed that I was pregnant. Her husband was there during the guess, and the last, my husband's mom, was worried sick that I was ill and kept trying to get me to go to the doctor. The reason why I didn't tell my mom as soon as we found out about the pregnancy is because if it didn't pan out, I didn't want her to keep bringing it up. Like when I didn't get a job promotion that I wanted, my mom randomly brought that up for weeks afterwards, randomly saying things like, if you were supposed to get that promotion, you would have, but it just wasn't meant to be, so it'll be okay. We would be having a great time eating dinner, and she would say that and bring down my mood for the rest of the day. I would not have been able to handle her saying that about my baby. Yes, I realized that I probably could have told her before I told the rest of the family, but there's no way she would have been told before the 4-month mark. All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. This is kind of absurd. I'm wondering, though, if this is a deeper issue with OP and the mom and if the brother is the golden child. I'm getting some serious vibes there. Like the whole thing about her, the promotion, it seems like she intentionally likes to sabotage OP. Like you don't just say that out of the blue multiple times. Like she was digging the screws in.
Yeah. She's totally turning the screws here. Like, I mean, everyone knows that you don't bring up sensitive topics like this, right? And it just seems like she's like, yeah, I know that this is going to impact OP. I'm just going to turn that screw a little bit. Don't worry. If you had gotten that promotion, it would have meant to be. So I don't know. I feel bad for OP in this situation because I feel like they were kind of in a no-win situation. I feel like the way the mother reacted here, no matter if OP had announced it at any of those other times, she probably would have been like, well, you're taking away the spotlight from this or that or whatever, right? Like, oh, if you announced it at the wedding, then it would have been, after the wedding, then they would have been like, oh, you're taking away the spotlight from the couple. And if they had announced it when the person went to prison, they would have been like, oh, this wasn't the time or place to do this, right?
Well, that's the thing. The whole way OP, it seems like OP is walking on eggshells with the family. And, this does not seem like a healthy family dynamic, unfortunately. So I don't think there's anything OP could have done differently that would have changed the outcome.
No. I mean, the only thing that OP could have done differently was buy an ultrasound for a framed gift too, and then they could have both had their ultrasound framed gifts presented to them at the same time. So, but I mean, I'm just being silly here because there's no way they could have known that,
Well, and even if OP had done that, like, then the mom would be like, you shouldn't have said that because sister-in-law just announced. Like, there's no winning. It literally would have been, oh, you stole sister-in-law's thunder.
Yeah, unless they gave the gift first. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Going Inside a Stranger's House to Help? So I was out running yesterday, about 85% done, and going down the street that I've gone down 1,000 times, when a woman in a car on a road literally hit the brakes and reversed so that she was lined up with me and yelled from the car that she needed someone strong to help her move something. I was kind of miffed that someone had stopped my workout, but whatever, I stopped and I gave her a very confused look because I have never seen this woman before. I told her that I can't guarantee anything, but I'll try. Well, she pulled a U-turn and drove up about 3 or 4 properties to her house, pulled into the driveway, got out of her car, and walked up to the house. I slowly jogged over to her property, came up on the driveway, and stayed out there waiting for her. After about 10 seconds, she popped her head out of the front door and asked, "Coming?" Well, this is when the red flags inside of me started to explode. This woman is in her early to mid-50s and just stopped me, a 39-year-old man with an unkept beard who is running in camouflage jacket. Like, how is this lady being so unsafe? Women don't just act like that. At least in my experience. My girlfriend would never in a million years stop a strange man on the street and ask him inside of her house. So suffice it to say that I was very put back by this. Well, I walked over to the front door and she was already inside her house, down a hallway, into a room that I could not see and calling me over. She told me that it was okay for me to leave my shoes on. I think that I stood in the doorway for about 10 seconds, looked around, looked at her, and just gave her a big head shake and said, no, sorry, and walked out. I'm sorry I couldn't help her, but I wanted to be neighborly. But I feel like my neighborliness extends only as far as your lawn/driveway. For all I know, there was someone in the next room with a gun. Or I would be knocked out, wake up in the middle link of a human centipede. Would you have done the same thing? Everyone that I've talked to feels that it's super sketchy on her part. But I still feel bad for the chance that she needed a genuine help. Am I the jerk for not helping this lady inside of her house? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. I mean, if your spidey senses are going off, like, that's a good reason not to step in. Like, this feels very uncomfy to me. Like, I would not be helping her.
I mean, it's different if it's somebody you know, right? Like, there are neighbors who I would definitely help out in our neighborhood, and I would have no problem with it, right? And going into their house, and I've gone into our neighbors' houses before. But this is not a, this is a very, the OP has never seen this woman. She stops OP's run and with a car.
And is so vague about everything.
Doesn't give OP any idea about what they're helping with. Like, OP doesn't need to be helping with her organ transplant project here, right? And that is that OP doesn't need to wake up in the middle of a bathtub with her kidneys cut out, right? I don't blame OP at all. I would be pretty sketched out by the situation as well. It does feel very strange that she was so willing to have OP just come into her house, a complete stranger who she doesn't even know.
And I mean, there are some people like that, but again, like, didn't even tell him anything about the job. Just like, I need a strong man.
But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, I'm a 26-year-old female and my boyfriend, a 33-year-old male, has been sneaking beans into my food. We've been dating for a little over 3 months. He is a better cook and so has been making most of our meals. He recently confessed that he has been sneaking beans into some of our foods. I do not like beans and he knows this. He says that he's making the meal more nutritious and they are a good source of fiber. He says that I have never noticed and never explicitly asked if there are beans in the food, so he will continue to do it. Is this a red flag? All right, folks, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a red flag. I mean, he never asked for your consent. He knows you don't like them, and he's been feeding you food you don't like, you know, like, you can't make your own decisions. Now, Brian and I have a thing where I can be resistant to trying new food, so I'll tell him not explicitly, don't tell me if you put this in here. But I am actively consenting to it by saying, just don't tell me. Like, I am agreeing that he can put this thing in my food, and I just don't want to know.
Yeah.
And so if Opie had been willing to try that, sure, that's fine. But OP was never consulted at any part of this process. He just started sneaking things into her food.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because, like, on one hand, it is an ingredient, and, like, maybe this is just something that normal recipe that he would do. But on the other hand, like, if this is a recipe that wouldn't normally require beans, I don't know. I do think it's a little difficult because, like, he knows that she doesn't like beans. But a like and a allergy are a completely different thing. I understand where he's coming from here, but I think that he should have talked to her and, you know, figured out a strategy for including beans and just said, hey, I'm going to start putting some beans in here, or I'm going to make one version of this dish that has beans in it. Would you like to give it a try? That way she could have had some kind of agency about choosing whether or not to eat beans, right?
Because right now it's like raising red flags for me of like, what else is he going to do without telling OP?
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. But folks, let's see what the Wheel of Judgment has to say. Wheel of Judgment, turn, turn, turn. Tell us the judgment that OP's earned. Fake. Apparently beans are fake. They just aren't real. They just don't exist. So there's no point in even discussing this one. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Will I be the jerk for forbidding my wife to use a bike? So I'm a 33-year-old male and my wife is a 31-year-old male and we met 9 years ago in the UK. We were both exchange students and hit it off immediately. From the start, I knew that my wife loves biking. She is from the Netherlands and she is the stereotype Dutch person when it comes to biking. I've seen pictures of her on a bike when she was 1 to 2 years old. At university in the UK, she rode her bike every single day, no matter the weather. After university, we lived in the Netherlands for 4 years and we got married. I did a master's program while she started working. We both work in IT. After getting my master's degree, I was offered a great job in my old hometown. We both agreed that it was a great opportunity and we decided to make the move. Well, my wife was lucky and she was able to get an H-1B visa and works for another tech company nearby. Well, when we moved to the US, I expected my wife to adapt to the car culture that we have out here. But no, after we settled in our new house, she had her parents ship over her bike. She is weirdly attached to it, even though it was hugely expensive. And I didn't complain as I knew how much it would mean to her to have her bike over here. I expected her to roam around on it in the neighborhood during her free time. What I didn't expect was her to use it to go to work. It was an hour ride from our house to her company by bike, around 30 minutes by car due to traffic. We have lived in the US for 2 years and she still bikes every day to and from work. She now uses a road bike and has reduced her travel to 25 minutes one way. She also found a mountain bike group while living here. They go out every other month, away for a weekend to a different mountain biking spot. I don't mind, as I use those days to catch up with friends or play video games, and she's not interested in those. But recently, I think that she has gone too far with the bike hobby. For a while, she's been fixing an old back Fiat, a cargo bike, and I wasn't sure what she wanted to do with it after she fixed it. Well, last week, she finished the bike, and I was surprised and secretly impressed by what she had done. She turned the cargo section into a refrigerator/freezer. I asked her why, and she replied so that she can go grocery shopping by bike. For some context, we do a big shopping run every 2 weeks, as the nearest big box store is only 20 minutes away by car. In between, we do smaller shopping trips, meaning if she were to take the newly fixed bike, it would take approximately an hour and a half to get there. I told her that she is bike crazy for wanting to bike 3 hours to do some shopping. She argued back that it's an hour and a half ride one way, and it isn't that long, especially by American standards. I told her that there's a difference between an hour and a half car ride and an hour and a half bike ride. She still wants to bike to the store to see if her refrigerator bike works, but I don't want her to do it. I really think that she's gone too far, so will I be the jerk for forbidding my wife from biking to the store? All right, folks, what do you think?
What do you mean forbidding your wife? Like, you are not her keeper. You don't get to decide what she, a full-grown adult, does. Like, there's nothing dangerous. In fact, biking is a great form of exercise, so she's probably staying very fit. So, yeah, you just need to back off and let her do her own thing.
If OP was concerned about like a health hazard, like if she was, not fit and not somebody who regularly bikes every single day and, does this kind of stuff, I could understand them being like, hey, an hour and a half bike ride might not be a good way to start off doing this. But this isn't even that kind of situation, right?
No.
I am a little concerned about an hour and a half bike ride with a freezer attached to it. I don't know how big this freezer is.
Sounds like it's very small.
Yeah. And I'm imagining that it's more like a three-wheeler or like an attached trailer type of thing to the bike. I'm not 100% sure. Well, actually, let me see what one of these things look like. So I did a search real quick here for like a back Fiat. And yeah, it does look like it's a three-wheeled bicycle with like a cargo thing in the front here. So it sounds like she probably has done some kind of modification to that front cargo area to make it into a freezer. I think that, if it's heavy and it might add a lot of extra weight, then it might be a risk because it is a long trip. But it also sounds like she's incredibly healthy and does stuff like this all the time. So I think that, even having OP probably should not be dictating about how she spends her time. If she wants to spend an hour and a half exercising to go to the store, why is OP this upset by it, right?
Like, would he be throwing a fit if she was going to the gym?
Yeah.
Or is it just the appearance of his wife using a bike? Because that's not what Americans do.
Well, and I also think that you bring up a really good point here because his whole attitude at the beginning was, I thought she would adapt to our culture of using cars. So maybe this is more like OP is embarrassed by her using a bike or thinks like it looks, like they can't afford a car or something like that. And that would be unfortunate if that were the case.
Because it feels more like an image thing than anything at this point.
Yeah, and that could be the case. I hadn't actually considered the image aspect of this, but it does, now that you mention it, there may very well be like an image aspect to this where he doesn't like the fact that she is, using this bike or any of those kinds of things. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
What's the difference between a dog and a marine biologist?
A lot of things. A marine biologist has 2 legs. A dog has 4 legs. One has fur. The other one just has regular hair. One's a dog. One's a human. I could go on and on and on. One probably has a collar, and the other one probably doesn't have a collar.
One wags a tail and the other tags a whale.
No, we're not doing this. I'm just kidding. I was actually more clever than I want to acknowledge. And I have the special guest tea, some matcha today. And folks, today is a very special day. It's bike riding day. So make sure to go find yourself a bike and ride it, even if you have to steal it off of the street.
No.
I'm just kidding. Don't steal stuff, please. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, wonderful Wednesday, Hump Day, Friday, Junior's Eve. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it a haiku for Haiku Wednesday.
Let her ride her bike. It's a wonderful form of exercise. Mind your own business.
I like it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.